Hello guys, so in this video, we will see 13 tips to choose the best domain name for your blog. Let's get started. Point number 1. .com name is always better. Over the years, .com domain extension has kind of become synonymous with trust. For example, if you had two options, passiveventure.com or passiveventure.xyz, which one would you click to? Passiveventure.com, right? So it's because the .com domains are kind of synonymous with trust. And if we see some new domain extensions that we are not familiar with, we kind of tend to relate them to being a bit more spammy. It's because we are not familiar with them. But on the other hand, there are many popular websites with new innovative domain extensions. But generally speaking, .com domain extensions are one of the most popular ones. People tend to trust them more. And if you are able to find good .com domain names that are available, then you should ideally choose to opt for them itself. Tip number 2. Try to keep the domain name short. The shorter your domain name is, the easier it is for people to remember them. If you can keep your domain name within, under 15 to 20 character limit, it would be the best. And from the number or the word count, if you could keep it within like 2 different words or up to 3 words, that's fine. But if you go beyond that, if you have 4 words or higher, then it would be really hard for people to remember and recollect your website when they are trying to revisit it again. So, and another thing that you have to consider is that once your domain name gets longer, people actually, while typing it, if they are searching particularly for your website or your blog, they would go to a search engine, they would type it, and while typing it, the chances of them making the typos are also higher. So if you are a very new website, the users have to type the exact name to reach or to get your own website in the results. So these are the few things that you should keep in mind. Try to make it short. Try to have 2 words or at most 3 words. Keep it under the 15-20 character limit. Keep it below that. However less it can be, it's best. And if you are keeping it lower, then it means that the chances of audience making any typos as well is low. Point number 3. Make the domain name catchy and memorable. The more catchier or the more memorable your domain name is, the more the brand attention you will receive. People tend to remind it. If there is a top of the mind recall, then that's best for you, right? For example, look at domain names like smashingmagazine.com, rottentomatoes.com, boardpanda.com. These are like really catchy and really memorable domain names, right? Once people have heard of these domain names, the chances of them actually forgetting these are really low. And obviously the popularity of these websites speak for the point that, you have to make it catchy and memorable as much as possible. Point number 4, make sure that the domain name that you choose is easy to spell. So as important as having a memorable and a short name is having a domain name that is easy to spell. Because if you want people to actually remember it, or if you want people to tell it to their friends, if you want a word of mouth promotion, then actually you have to make sure that your domain name is not hard to spell. Point number 5, you can try building a personal brand. For example, there are very popular examples like Nomadic Mad by Matthew, Cup of Joe by Joanna, Ride Rob by Ryan Robinson. These domain names are based on the names of the author itself. So these are kind of personal brands. And a few of the advantages of having your own name as a domain name is that you will be able to build a reputation of your own in that industry as an expert. You will be able to build a reputation. And the second one, you will not be limited by any niche keywords. For example, like in the case of Nomadic Matt, he is not just limited by one particular travel related niche. So Nomadic Matt can be anything about travel related topics, right? So we are not constrained by keywords. For example, if you take passive venture, we have to kind of relate it to passive income ventures. So the businesses, passive income, personal finance, we have to keep it in that particular niche. If you want to go beyond that, then it wouldn't be that easy for us, right? But our focus was specifically on this topic, that's why we choose the name. But if you are not sure what you have to write about, if you are not so sure about the niche that you have chosen, then one of the things that you can do is to choose a is to create a personal brand. Use your own name as the domain name for your blog. So that is actually the third point. If you have any confusion as what is your niche, or if you have any confusion as whether you should go with a keyword based name or you should go with a brand name, then if you have such confusions, one of the best ways to eliminate that is to try building a personal brand of your own. Point number 6. Try to stick to English language or your native language. It's because blogging is actually more of a global activity, Your audience is not just limited to one particular local area. If you're selling a product, then you might be limited to a particular area, like a particular state or a particular country. Or at least even if you're an MNC, you are still limited to a few set of countries. But on the other hand, if you are writing a blog, it's accessible to the entire world, everyone from any country. May it be US, it be Europe, it be Asian, it be Australia. Doesn't matter whichever continent or country or place you are on, everyone will be able to access that. So the best option is to go for English based names. And if you are building your blog or website specifically for people in a particular category, then you can choose the name based on the native language as well. But generally speaking, try to stick to English language names itself. Point number 7, try to avoid having numbers and special characters in your domain name. It kind of makes your domain name seems less legible. For example, you can see the 3 domain names that are given here, right? Passiveventure.com, passive-venture.com, passiveventure01.com. Which one do you think is the best one? Which one do you think people would trust or people would click into? It would be passiveventure.com, right? If you tend toward numbers or special characters, you kind of seem to lose the legibility a bit. So it's best to eliminate them. Point number 8, you have to think long term while you are planning to choose a domain name of your own. For example, let's assume that you are planning to start a fitness blog. Let's say you have very good expertise in the topic of strength training. You are a strength training enthusiast. You pretty much know everything you have to know about that particular topic. And you decided that you are going to pick a domain name like strength training abc.com, where ABC could be anything. You can add anything there. Okay, so what happens is that right now you are restricted to kind of that strength training niche alone. In the future, let's say you have written a lot about strength training. Now you want to kind of write a bit more about other specific fitness topics as well, right? So when people are actually looking for generic fitness tips and they come across a website like strengthtraining-dotcom, and on the other hand, there is a competitor website that is something like fitnessabc.com. Which one do you think people would prefer more? Which one do you think people would think would have relevant information for them? The other one, the fitness-based domain name, right? So the best thing is that if you have any visions of growing the niche for your website, if you see that, in the future, I won't be simply writing about strength training alone. I will probably write more about other fitness related topics as well. If you think that that's what is going to happen in the future, then it's best to choose a fitness-.com domain name in the beginning itself. So you have to think long term, identify what your future plans are and what are your visions for expanding your blog, and then decide on a domain name accordingly. And having to kind of switch between the domain names is a big hassle that you do not want to go through. It will hurt your search engine rankings. It will hurt your domain awareness. So it will really be detrimental for you. The best thing, take your own time, think what your plans are for the future, and finally decide on a domain name. So now let's look at some more tips. Point number 10. Take ideas from the names of your competitor blogs. It's something that you can do. A bit of competitor research can give you ideas on what kind of keywords that your competitors are using in your domain name. You can also try to pick up those keywords and you will be able to come up with a better name that way. Point number 10, try to choose a name that will kind of match the tone and the style of your blog. If you have some specific tone, or if you are imagining something, if you can kind of choose a name that goes along with that, that is also better. Point number 11, if you are planning to choose a domain name, try to make sure that, there is an alliteration, make sure that there is assonance with the words that you are choosing. So these are also really important. Point number 12, make sure that whatever domain name that you choose, it's not trademarked by others, because you could fall into legal trouble if you do that. So for example, if you are planning to choose a name that is based on some popular movie characters or some popular animated characters, or if you want to use a domain name that is based on very popular products from some very popular companies, then the chances are you will fall in legal trouble with them. So make sure that you choose something that's not trademarked by others, that doesn't infringe the copyright of others. Choose something unique and you will be doing fine. And point 13, something that you should also keep in mind is that you sometimes choose a particular domain name, we build a brand, and then once we start building the social media profiles, when we look for their social media handles and we find that it's not available in any of the social media. So if you have social media marketing specifically in mind, say for example, if you have decided that you are going to focus specifically on Pinterest, you are going to depend a lot on say Instagram, or you're going to depend a lot on Twitter, then first go to those social media, make sure that whatever domain names or the brand name that you have chosen is available in those social media accounts, and then actually go ahead and buy those domain names. Because sometimes we kind of start building up a brand, then once we start doing the social media marketing, once we start building the social media profiles, we'll come across or we'll know that, okay, these domain names or these usernames are not available. So that's also something that you should keep in mind.